How's everyone doing? Good time so far? All right, so this is a tough spot. The blood sugar's dropping a little bit. Maybe we shake it up a little bit, do a little something. So I'm going to try. You guys have coffee break right after this. Stick with me. I'm going to talk. Hopefully, the product people here think this is interesting. Discover and validate breakthrough innovations. I'm going to try to give you some ideas. There's obviously many ways to do this, but I'm going to try to give you some unique ideas and hopefully some tactical things that you can take back to your office tomorrow and do certain things. So let's. Oh, you know what? Oh, there we are. Sorry. Let me plug this in. First thing you should do is plug in the. All right. So I'm gonna talk to you about three things today. First, I'm gonna give you a little background on me, just so you know, like why I'm here, why I'm talking. I'm going to talk to you about discovering innovation. I'm going to give you some ideas, hopefully something that might be new. And then I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, things that I love to talk about, which is validation, specifically things you can do to validate ideas, product roadmap ideas, before they get into code. Okay, and I'm a huge believer in that. It's one of the things that Dan and I really connect around. All right, so first, actually Chad this morning said, start with your mission statement in slides, and this is actually my mission statement. So, as an entrepreneur, as a Type A person, I'm sure I'm filled with a room full of Type A people. It's easy to get wrapped up in your work and forget the things that's important, but I have a great family structure that helps me keep focused, and I remind myself this is my core. I'm a 3-time founder. I started my first company in 2007, totally bootstrapped, had no idea, didn't know anything about building products. It was just kind of a business background. We did it in New York, which in 2007, starting a company in New York was very, very odd. Most people I met were like, why New York? That's not where you start companies. You got to be in West. But we were scrappy. We found a way to kind of get through. It was a heck of a ride. We went from a $9 billion valuation to we sold our company and merged it with another company and grew it, and it kind of hit on something that went really big, really quick. So we went from a $9 million valuation to a $6 billion in under 3 years, which was a heck of a ride. We got, if you guys are ever on a ride like that, it's a lot of fun. We took a little bit of money off the table, not a ton. We wanted to take more money off the table, but it ended up crashing and burning. But it was a success. Oh, it was a success. So after that, I started another company. I felt really good about myself. I was like, I have the magic. And not only did I feel good about myself, but investors thought I did have the magic, and they were telling me that. And so I actually raised $2 million of venture capital from some of the biggest VCs in the country with just a PowerPoint. I didn't have a team. I didn't have a product. I just had an idea, and they said, here's $2 million. I was like, okay, let's do this. So I did it all the wrong way. I just started building. I had a hunch. I just started building stuff. Let's build it. I have the idea. I have the magic touch. And it was a crash and burn. I ended up selling it for pennies on the dollar to TripAdvisor, but it was an absolute failure. And as a competitive person, I spent time after that failure doing a little retrospective of my own. I felt like throughout that process, I got a lot of false positives, a lot of false signals. And so I spent time meeting and interviewing with some of the product and design teams of some of the best companies in the world. Best product companies in the world. When you think of these companies, I asked them, how do you do this now? And I kept hearing a consistent pattern. And the question I became obsessed with is, how do you build product customers love? How do you build products customers truly, truly love? And the thing that I kept coming back to over and over again is nicely captured by Mr. Einstein. Hopefully you've all read this quote, but if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the right question to ask. If I want to know the right question, then I can come up with a solution. Problem space, solution space, right? One of the things that I got from Dan. Spent a lot of time truly, truly, truly understanding the problem space before you jump right into the solution. That's what I did wrong. So with that, I started thinking about, okay, so how do we do this? And one of the things, here's some things I'm gonna talk to you about is like, how do you understand how do you discover breakthrough ideas, okay, so with your product, okay? I came across this thing on Twitter, this Hacker News. We have a great team in Capital, but we can't find a good idea. What do you think about this question? All right, going back to Mr. Einstein, I don't even think they're asking the right question. So you don't look for an idea, you look for a problem to solve. You start with the problem. So I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in starting with the problem. So applying that to your specific product. I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to give you a theory, and then I'm going to actually give you a case study with my own company and what we did and how we did it and the results that we had. And I know the data, so I can give you the actual data. So a lot of people spend a lot of time as a product team. You invest heavily in analytics, so you spend a lot of time looking at these analytics and these charts. I'm going to tell you, breakthrough stuff is not going to come from looking at your existing product and your existing metrics and all these great analytics that you have coming out of your metrics. Those are the sand. Those are the pebbles. Those are not the boulders. So in our company, we talk about boulders and pebbles, similar to the analogy that Dan gave with the glass. So you can get a lot of great stuff in the sand. That sand's important. The little pebbles are important. But if you're looking for boulders, you're not going to find them in your existing product. So where are you going to find that? And my suggestion to you is you're going to find that by asking customers what they do before the login, and to be able to use your product. What do you have to do to use our product? What are the experiences you have to go through, and also after log out? So what do you do after you log out of our product? And by talking to your customers and understanding what they do before the login and after the log out, you can come up with some amazing things, some amazing ideas. And actually, Dan gave some great examples when he was talking about TurboTax. Talk about getting audited and stuff like that. That's what happens after a log out, right? Those are pains that you have. What can you do with product to change that experience of a risk of getting audited for your taxes? And that comes from talking to your customers. So let me give you a good case study. So this was our case study when we initially started the business. We started with the idea of lowering the friction for user research, okay? And so how do you do that? There's two pieces to it. I want to source people, and I want to run tests. There's moderated and unmoderated, and there's mobile and desktop. And we had a product. We were chugging along, growing nicely, feeling okay about ourselves, but nothing really. I didn't feel we were fully differentiated. And so we did a tremendous amount of ethnographic research. So does anyone know what that is? Yeah. Yeah, in the environment. So what I like about this example is not only is this person in the jungle observing probably a monkey, but she's actually like climbed up onto the branch to really look deeper and closer at what the person or the animal that she's observing doing, right? So you want to do that, really get in their environment, get on the road. I'll tell you an interesting conversation in a conference that I was in with Dan actually a little while ago. The first product manager for Slack was there, and he said one of the first things he did when he came to Slack is, they showed him a chart about how awesome we're doing, the user growth is going, we're crushing it. And he's like, oh, that's good. Well, let me go talk to some of our biggest customers and sit with them and get in their office and watch them use Slack. And everyone's like, no, you don't need to do that. Look at these charts. They're so amazing. We don't need to do that. And he said, I'm going to do it anyways. And he came back with a very different interpretation of how customers were feeling about it. And he used those interviews, those user interviews, those ethnographic user interviews to discover pain points and challenges that people were having with using the biggest customers were having with using their product. So ethnographic, big fan of that. All right, so when you're doing your ethnographic, you're talking to users, you're asking them about before the login and after the log out. What are some good questions to ask? This is kind of a tactical thing. I like to start with high level stuff. So what do you hate about your job? And you got to rein that in because then they'll start rambling. But I mean specifically about kind of usage of this use case. But it's good to get them talking. Usually they'll start giving you some good stuff. They'll start, you really get that you can see something that jumps out Oh, this drives me nuts. I hate it like it's poison. Do you do anything before logging into our product to use our product? Describe it, show it to me. What takes a lot of time? What's frustrating? How do we lower that friction in doing the use case that you're renting our product to do? Right? It's about, how do you get increased velocity? How do you increase that usage? How do you create that trigger? Some of it is in lowering the friction to actually get in and start using that product. Same thing with after the log out. Same set of questions. Describe it. Show me what you do. Show me why it's painful. How do you do that stuff? Can I lower that friction for you? When we applied that model to our customers, we had this nice little testing business that was kind of chugging along, and we heard a very different story that we kind of created this little graphic for. And what we found is that actually, what we thought was a big part of the problem, which is sourcing people and testing and lowering that friction up front, was a significantly small part of the problem. What we learned in large organizations is once you actually do your research and you do your learning and you learn something, you have to communicate it to so many different people. Huge amounts of time, more than half of their time, is spent in just educating colleagues on what they learned in their user research. Now, some companies said, hey, we have developers that sit in on research sessions and product managers, and that's great. That's really awesome. But that's like still a fraction of the use case of educating and collaborating with their teammates. And as we started talking to our customers and trying to understand the pain points and frustrations, again, problem space, not solution space yet. Okay? We're just trying to understand, how do you do this now? What do you hate about this? What that you do right now is working really, really well. We started to evolve our product and thinking. We then tested prototypes. Okay, I'm going to tell you one other thing that we did in a minute. I don't want to steal my thunder, but we did some things to validate what they said they really meant. Okay, and that's the hard part. You can't send out surveys on this stuff. If you could send out surveys and get product answers, it'd be really easy. We just send out surveys and that'll be done. But we know that product prioritization, feature prioritization is hard. So there's some techniques I could show you on the validation section. But what we did is we took a lot of time understanding this problem around collaborating around the insights. And we changed our value prop. We evolved the product. It wasn't just a testing product. It was a learning and collaboration product. All of a sudden, that's a bigger problem. That's a more organizational problem. We're solving a pain for more people than just the individual user. We're solving pain for their teammates and collaborators. I used to say like the job of a salesperson is to make their customer look good to their boss, to their customer's boss. And if you could make your customer look good to their boss or their teammates, you got an internal advocate forever. You're going to close a lot of business. It's the same thing with research. Our job is to make it real. The person who does the research look great to their colleagues. And what they did, we made it really easy around the reporting and collaboration piece. And so our whole business model changed. So did it work? Okay, so this is our MRR chart of the last 2 years. And if you weren't sure where we kind of introduced this collaboration piece, it's right here. Last year we 3.2x'd, and while being cash flow positive as a early stage company. So I asked our board, I said, how many times have you been on a board or invested in a company that 3x'd in revenue and also was cash flow positive organically? And they said 0. In their entire portfolio, they've never seen that happen. Most of the time, growth is correlated with extremely high burn rates, but we were able to be cash flow positive and grow very, very fast because we spent a lot of time truly understanding the pain point, the problem space that actually happened after the logout. We completely revolutionized our value prop to our customers. We solved a bigger pain that was more organizational around communication, and we were able to charge higher price points and move it up. The other thing we did, okay, another question we asked is, hey, we're in there talking to you, and we're kind of, by the way, Anyone else here have this problem that you have? And when we defined it as a bigger problem, right? We weren't just saying user testing is the problem. What we said is learning, collaborating around insights, learning from users, collaborating insights. Who has that problem? And people were telling us, actually, there are other people who have this frustration. I was just in a meeting with our product teams, and they were saying, that's a frustration point for them. And we were in with the marketing teams, and they were saying they do a lot of things, and there's a whole lot of legwork for this. And those are obvious extensions of collaboration and user research. But one thing came out that was extremely no one expected this. We never expected this. But they tell us HR teams, recruiting teams, they spend a lot of time interviewing people. They have to write up their notes, and then they have to share those insights with the hiring managers and the hiring teams. And it's a very old school manual process. There's no tracking, stuff like that. So if you broaden your value prop, we went from just a testing product to a learning and collaboration product, that learning around external people. Your customers will actually start telling you their use cases. And we've changed the trajectory of our company and our business model and our plan, and we're off to the races here. Just by sitting with customers and talking to them and trying to understand the pain at a different level, not simply looking at the metrics, the usage metric. No, we watch those. Those are. I don't want to say I'm not saying it's all or none. What I am saying is, don't get blinders on. Don't get siloed of just looking at what's going on in your actual product right now. Get out there, talk to your customers, and try to understand what's happening before the log in, after the log out. So that's an idea. All right, let's talk about validation ideas, validation of your innovation. So one of the things when I got into, before I started this product, when I was doing the research, and Dan and I first met and really got, because we were super into the lean concept, and I was all about trying to figure out, how do you validate, is there a way to validate demand pre-build? And one of the things when I talked to different teams, I said the biggest mistake is simply asking your customers, would you use this product? Why is this a mistake? Come on. People want to say yes. What else? There's no cost. Who said that? Have you seen me speak before? The biggest problem is there's no cost to say yes. People have a natural inclination to saying yes. People don't want to argue with you. You are all very confident, influential people. You are really good at convincing people your way of thinking. You've probably been that way your whole life. My guess is you were great at convincing people of things when you were a little kid, and you found you naturally went into this path of having a lot of responsibility and no authority, because you're actually really good at convincing people to go about your way. And so you sit in front of people and you ask them, would you use this product? And the person's thinking, I think this person wants me to say yes. Okay? The problem is there's no teeth to the yes. Doesn't cost me anything to say yes. So in all my research, what I found is that there are three things in this context that matter. There are three things that can cost you something to say yes. The first thing is your time. People value their time. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by your time is, hey, you said this was a pain point in our research, okay? We're having, I want to set up a session with you to show you a prototype of what we're looking to do, and I want to get your feedback, and I want to get your commitment to being a part of this feedback committee. Now, people always ask when I say, hey, should we pay them? Should we pay them for their time? Well, it goes back to the scientific method, right? You can only have one variable at a time. If you introduce two variables, you're not sure which is causing the reaction. So if you're paying them and you're asking them for their commitment, which is causing the yes? Who knows? Take the payment away. Oh, well then, yeah, I'll pay you for your time, $50 for 30 minutes. Okay, great. I can do Tuesday. Oh, actually, I forgot. We can't pay you. I'm not interested. Okay, so what do they care about the problem, or they care about the $50? Well, I just took one variable away. Now we know. So figure out people who are committed to their time, and I'm telling you definitively, if you're solving a big enough pain, People will give you their time. They will give you their time to work with you on the solution space. The second is their reputation. I'm just using Twitter as a logo for social capital. But in a B2B setting or even in a consumer setting, there are ways to ask people for their social capital as a form of validation. So in your meetings, are you interested in this? Is this a pain point? Can you get your team? Can you get people to come to this meeting? Do you know someone else at another company who has a similar problem? Will you make that introduction? You said your marketing team has this problem. Will you make that introduction to me, for that? And the last and most important level of escalation from your time, your reputation, is your budget. Now, every time I do this, everyone's initial reaction is, oh, you can't get people to buy something that isn't built? That's crazy. Anyone know of examples of buying stuff before they're built? Kickstarter, Tesla. So everyone's like, well, no, those are different than my company. Like, that's different. Like, we have big customers. I said, well, okay, well, one of my first jobs out of business school is I sold software for IBM. I covered Citigroup. At the time, Citigroup spent $1 billion with IBM. And that was back when $1 billion was a lot of money. That was a lot of money at the time. And but you know what? Citigroup used to come to IBM's R&D department, and they would absolutely pre-purchase the next generation of technology ahead of time. So that's a pretty big customer buying it. I'll give you another example. We do this validately. No boulder in our company. Our head of product and UX is right there. He can keep me honest if I'm lying. But no boulder gets built in our product until we sell it. We sell it with a prototype. We first find customers who we identify this is a pain point by sending out basic surveys. Is this a problem for you? They say yes. We ask them for their time. We ask them for their social commitment to introduce us to people on their team that also share this problem. And then when we work with them through the solution space, we then say, will you purchase this product upon release? Will you put your credit card down to purchase this product upon release? And I'll tell you definitively that they do. We are a small company, and we sell software that hasn't been built yet because they need it, and they do it. So earlier, someone was asking, we're talking about enterprise sales. Here's an idea on how to deal with enterprise sales and how to leverage enterprise sales as a partner to help you prioritize your roadmap. Sit down with your VP of sales at your company and say, these are the 3 boulders that we're thinking about building over 2018. We're not sure which one to prioritize. I want you to pick off 1 or 2 of your salespeople, and I want you to try to, here are prototypes of the different solutions. I want you to try to sell it. I want you to try to bring me customers, okay? Bring me customers for these different boulders, and whichever one we think after that has the highest value, it really captures value, is the one we're going to prioritize. So that's an idea. Last slide is on validating demand rules. These are kind of rules of the road, things that, common trip-ups. The first thing is you are not the user, and you are biased. You wake up every morning thinking about this feature. You go to bed every night thinking about this feature. Your customer doesn't think about the feature. They don't care about the feature. They don't care about your success at the company. It's not that they're not nice people. They don't care about the drill. They care about the 3-inch hole, right? And so you are definitely not the user. You are definitely not biased. And so we firmly believe in a consistent pattern. The things that I saw when I interviewed the Googles of the world, the Twitters of the world, the LinkedIns of the world, the Microsofts, the Allstates, those are the people who I interviewed when I did that soul searching to try to understand how do you build products that customers love. Research is in their DNA, their organizational DNA. They do it. It's a part of their everyday process. It's not hey, once a quarter, we got to do this thing again. It's a part of their everyday process. And they segment their users. They understand the different and they test and constantly run tests and research against those different segments. The last rule is what I'll leave you with, is what I call the golden rule of product, which is what a customer says they will do, what a customer says they did, and what a customer actually does are 3 different things. So make it cost something to say yes. With that, I'll ask questions, answer questions.